Hello and welcome to Reroll. My name is Angus Morrison and today I was in the middle of making a nice, pleasant video, a nice thank you video to all the people who have helped me reach 1,000 subscribers. But now we have this video, an angry video, a video born of the cold fury that comes from reading some of the most misleading, outdated and frankly lazy journalism from an otherwise respectable institution that I have ever had the misfortune to read. As of 13:57 BST, the headline of the Telegraph at telegraph.co.uk reads, "Washington gunman Aaron Alexis obsessed with violent video games." Here we go again. Every time America suffers a mass shooting, you can practically guarantee that the press will pin it on games. It's an unstoppable force of nature. Some residents of Sandy Hook called for a good old-fashioned game burning after the massacre of December. Fox News recently had themselves a noticeably rigged poll which asked the public whether they believed violent games cause shootings, as some researchers suggest. Though I assume these researchers are different from the researchers conducting the studies which repeatedly found no causal link between games and violence, though maybe I'm just not reading widely enough. But this we are used to. We are used to this kind of thing from Fox News. What comes as a surprise is a woefully misleading attack on games and their gory content coming from a well-respected British broadsheet, and I can't let that pass without comment. Admittedly, the Telegraph is known to lean to the right, but that's the British right and not the American right, which is leaning so far it's fallen over. I don't intend to keep you long, but I feel it's important to highlight exactly why this is a heavily biased piece of writing which deserves to be called out. Firstly, though the headline reads, "Washington Navy Yard gunman obsessed with violent video games," the opening paragraph claims he also carried a .45 handgun tucked in his trousers with no holster everywhere he went because he believed people would try to steal his belongings. In other words, he was a complete Fruit Loop, someone who clearly suffered from paranoia, a severe mental health issue. The idea that this behaviour was solely a result of his exposure to video games, as the headline tries to suggest, is utterly farcical, especially as the same article goes on to detail worries the gunman had concerning race and finances. Downplaying these issues in favour of a concerted attack on video games demonstrates staggering bias in reporting to serve a specific agenda. My second point concerns the sentence, "The darker side to Alexis's character saw him playing violent zombie video games in his room, sometimes from 12:30 PM to 4:30 AM. Now, aside from the fact that that is not the behaviour of a healthy individual, let's break out the high school English and take a look at the sentence more specifically. Zombie has been placed in inverted commas, which seems to me an attempt by the writer to distance himself and his work from all the distasteful things that zombies might represent. He is above such perverse fantasies of the undead, just as any sane person will want to be firmly grounded in reality. He asks us to be disgusted by these games, which is as far from balanced reporting as it's possible to get. More obvious is labelling this the darker side of his character. Darker is bad, the dark something to be avoided, and darker here is used exclusively in reference to Alexis's gaming habits. It's not used to describe a previous firearms incident, it's not used when discussing his history of violence. It is a label for games. Alexis, claims the writer, was at his darkest when playing games. But if that weren't enough, allow me to present one final argument as to why this distorted tale has no place in the reputable press. Aaron Alexis was ex-military, petty officer 3rd class who served full-time in US Naval Reserve. You know the military, that place where you are taught to soldier, the institution dedicated to the art of war, that place where you learn to handle firearms and, if necessary, kill people. But it was games. No other factor from a history of mental health issues, violence and financial stress to a military career could possibly have more bearing on this massacre than this man's obsession with games. Quite how an article so obviously divorced from reality was allowed to be published, let alone make the headline, I do not understand. I've included a link to the original article in the description, and I do recommend reading it yourself to get a true feel from it. And if you were as perplexed by this warped piece of journalism as I was, I also recommend getting in touch with the Telegraph and letting them know your thoughts. Please do share this video wherever you can. The Telegraph are rather large, so I must shout to be heard. Thanks for watching, and I'm off to work on a nicer video.